Hello, everyone. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. I want to talk today very briefly about one subject matter, and it's called, what are you teaching? In other words, how are you teaching people to treat you? What are you allowing in your life that gives people the impression that it's okay to talk to you any kind of way or treat you any kind of way? So some of the questions that I have in mind, and again, to be honest, a lot of these reflections come from my own life, and I just think through some situations that I've been through, and that's kind of what gave me the mindset of talking about this is, oh yeah, I have to teach people how to treat me. Now, that does not mean that you have control over their actions, because as you all know, we can't control what someone says, or does, but we absolutely can control our response to it in terms of what are we teaching people is acceptable for us. So, for example, one of the things that I want to talk about is how are you teaching people to treat you when they're yelling or disrespecting you? And I'm sure I'm not the only person that's been in a situation where someone has yelled at me or in some way disrespected me. I'm not talking some stranger out on the street. I'm talking people you know. I'm talking people that you know. What are you teaching them that's acceptable? And you may say, well, Z, where are you going with this? What do you mean? Well, I believe that we teach people how to treat us. So if it's okay for them to constantly yell or they don't even have to use profanity, but let's say curse at you or talk to you any kind of way or talk about any subject matter in front of you, you're teaching them in essence, it's okay to keep doing this because I'm okay with it. Does that make sense? Yeah, we can't control their actions. You're absolutely right. But what are you teaching them? Are you teaching them that that's okay? One of the examples, I always talk about my family, but I won't say specifically which child. I've got 4 kids, 3 are adults, and one is going on 17 this year. But it dawned on me, and if any of you have ever had teenagers or adult kids, I'm sure I'm not the only parent that's made the mistake, at times, if they've yelled or said something or whatever, you just kind of go about your business or yell back, how we do it, yell back at them or what have you. It dawned on me that, whoa, I've allowed too much of that into my life. And I had a dear friend, an amazing woman of God, who had a talk with me a while ago about that. And she really helped me to see that, Z, while you can't control someone else's behavior, you absolutely can control your response. And I'm actually going to be doing another podcast specifically on that. And I think I'm going to title it, I Get to Choose with a question mark. I think I'm going to title it something like that. But anyway, for the premise of the example that I'm setting, and this is a recent situation that happened, I'll just say one of my children was getting jazzy, yelling, saying some stuff, and really, to be honest, had a misunderstanding of a situation. And I said to, I'll just say that child, whoa, I'm sorry that I gave you the impression that it's okay to talk to me like that. I'm your mother. I'm sorry that some kind of way I've given you the impression that that's okay. That's not acceptable for me. And I said to, I'll just say that child, I won't say daughter or son, I said to that child, baby, mama's going to have to block you from her phone right now for a little bit until you can remember that you can't talk to me any kind of way like that. I know you grown, I get that, but I'm still mama. And I blocked him, and it's okay. And it's so funny because the other day, I'll say that child said to me, Ma, you got to unblock me from your phone now. I be trying to reach you so many times about some things. And I said, no, not yet. I said, I just need for you to really understand that, 1, I'm your mother. 2, you have to respect me. And it's okay that we have our differences. I'm really fine with that. But you don't get to call me and yell at me on the phone or talk to me some kind of way because you're upset about something. That don't work for me in my life. And I understand there's been some times I've allowed that, but that doesn't work for me. Mama's seeking peace. I don't deserve that kind of treatment, and I'm just not going to allow it. And I love my kids. God knows I do. I really do. But I had to develop some healthy boundaries in my life, even with my own children, to make sure that they understand I'm mama. I understand you grown, but this don't work for me. And I'm sorry I gave that impression that you think that's okay. But that's just one recent, I guess I could say a weak example, but it's still an example. There's so many. This same scenario could be played out in relationships, with friends, with coworkers. I just think that if we don't lay down some healthy, I'll say soft or hard boundary lines, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, then we can easily fall into the trap of just letting people treat us however they want. Because half the time I'm so tired, from work and all the other things that I do. And you guys know the situation with one of my other children that's going through some things. Sometimes you ever been just so tired that you're like, whatever, I'm just going to let that, I'm just too tired to even go there. You ever been like that? I'm just too tired. And so I have to remind myself that, wait a minute, I'm a child of the Most High King. I'm a child of God. And even if, and I remember saying this to that child, even if mama was wrong, you don't get to talk to me like that. That don't work for me. Now, I remember back in the day, I wasn't, as strong to say it like that, because I'm always looking out for, okay, well, I want my children to be okay, and I want them to always be able to reach mama, and I want them to always be, no, nope, you got to be blocked right now. Because I've got to teach this lesson that just because it's been a day or two, it ain't okay that we just going to turn around and just start, talking to mama like this again. It don't work like that. Now, that doesn't mean, for those who may say, well, Z, you need to forgive. I forgive. I love my child. Of course I've forgiven. And that child did apologize. But I need to make sure that that child understands this don't work for me. So anyway, that's one example. Another example is, are you teaching people that it's okay to use you? Are you teaching them that it's okay to use you over and over again in life? Now, that one's kind of hard for me because I'm naturally a giver. I think I told you guys a long time ago with my staff, I'm trying to think of this assessment. I think it's called a DISC assessment. I can't remember the name of this personality test, but there was some sort of a DISC assessment that I did, and it shows where you rank in terms of, just name a category, from entrepreneurship to, I don't know, compassion to empathy and all of these things. And I scored very high in terms of business and entrepreneurship. It's just how God made me. But I scored literally almost off the chart in terms of compassion and empathy. And I remember the lady that gave the test, she's like, wow, it's kind of rare to find someone that scores so extremely high in this area as well as in the other area. So I naturally empathize with others. And no matter what the situation is, it's easy for me to put myself in their shoes and maybe see it from their angle. And so that's a blessing. And on the other end, sometimes it's like, whoa, I do that so often that even though I have a very strong personality, I also have a huge heart, and I naturally rather take the pain so that other people don't have to face it. And so the result of that, unfortunately, is there's been many times in my life where looking back, I can see that, oh my goodness, I was being used by this person, and I allowed this person to use me over and over again because I'm help to the rescue, because that's just naturally who I am. And so I've had to even pull back from that to teach people that, no, it's not okay to do that. I had a situation, I don't even know if I should go into this one because I didn't think about this until right now. I'll just say, probably the easiest way I can say it is, let's just say, an extended family member who I used to give money to all the time because there always was some emergency. I think everybody has someone in their family where there's always an emergency, right? And I distinctly remember one time in the middle of the winter in a snowstorm, going to I don't know, like a currency exchange or a money exchange. I don't even know what you call those places, but some place to wire money to this, I'll say, extended family member, because I was under the impression that he needed some money right away to end up to prepare for a job. And I won't go through all the details with it because to be honest, I haven't prayed through how far I should go into that story. But I'll just say that I found out later that it was all a made-up lie. And And I'm the kind of person that I always was the one giving money to this person over and over again. And I had to finally, and I'll never forget, one of my relatives said, I figure one day your eyes are going to open. And I had to finally get to a point where I realized, okay, I am actually teaching this person that it's okay to be an adult and be completely irresponsible, by the way, with not only how you spend your money, but what you do. And it's okay to come to me all the time because I'm going to rescue you and bail you out. And it was so hard for me to not jump in and be the rescuer in a couple situations that happened with this extended family member, because I love this person and I naturally don't like to see people suffer. But I had to, allow God to train me that it's not okay for me to continue to be used, and especially in a situation where someone could make better choices. And it's funny because as I'm doing this podcast, I'm thinking through just recently, I kid you not, just very recently, that same extended family member, I won't go into detail, but sent me a message last minute needing something again. And I said, you're going to have to learn to make some better choices in life. And I won't go into more detail about it. But I'm teaching that person, and that person knows that I have nothing but love in my heart. But I'm teaching that person that it's not okay to continue to use me over and over and over again just because you choose to do other things with your money, and last minute she's gonna bail me out because she always does that. Does that make sense? That kind of goes into my third point, which is not allowing people to suffer the consequences. I think sometimes we can easily teach people, it's okay to do whatever you're going to do because I'm going to jump in and I'm going to help and I'm going to save the day. And, we think that we're doing the right thing. Remember a while back, I did a podcast on the difference between a load and a burden when we went through the passage about what the Bible says about that, and the difference between a load and a burden, and one of them really references, I think it's the burden that really references, someone has, for example, an extreme medical condition. They need care. They need meals taken by, just things you've got to do. But then one of them references loads, when it says, but each man should carry his own load. That references, a load is something that they can handle themselves, They could be responsible with their money, make a couple better choices so that when their bills come around, they'll be able to pay it. Now, I'm not talking about anyone that's out of work and going through a hard time. I'm talking about situations where people literally choose to do other things and then go to others just to bail them out because they know that that's what that person's going to continue doing. And so I'm trying to think of the name of that podcast, but you guys may remember it for me. I'll make sure I put it in the show notes just so you know, because I can't think right now the exact name of that one. But I talked in detail about the difference between the loads and the burdens. But anyway, that's another thing that we teach people is just in terms of, are we going to always be jumping in to save the day? And I had to realize that I had to be told this, to be honest, and I feel like God finally put it in my heart that you're my child. I'm a child of the Most High God. That does not mean that I need to be a doormat and just let people walk over me, or let people talk to me any kind of way so that in the name of just keeping the peace, I just allow any and everything in my life. And so I've kind of gotten in the habit of saying, and I hope that you guys will remember this, but when situations like this come to me, and I'm not perfect, I don't do it all the time. Again, I'm naturally a giver, and so sometimes it's hard for me to really put my foot down, especially with family members and close friends and people that I know. But I've gotten in the habit now of saying, you know what, I'm so sorry that I gave you the impression to think that it's okay to treat me this way. I'm really sorry that I gave you that impression that it's okay. But this behavior is not acceptable for me anymore. I'm going to say that again, because this would be great if you can remember this for yourselves. I'm so sorry that I gave you the impression to think that it's okay to treat me this way. I'm sorry I gave you that impression. I may have allowed it in the past too, but this behavior is no longer acceptable for me. And then I remove myself from the situation. Because when you say that to somebody, the initial response is you're going to get a lot of talk back. You're going to get, they're going to push those buttons and do whatever they need to do to drag you right on back down that hole so that you can go kind of right on back into what you normally would do. You don't care about me. You don't love me no more. Oh, I see. That's how you feel. That's how you feel. Or you guys know what I'm talking about, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that can relate to me. Well, if you got it, why can't you give it? Oh, that's how you're going to be. And that pulls at, if you're anything like me where you are naturally a giver and you love helping people, it pulls at your heartstrings like you wouldn't believe. But those are the moments when you have to realize, as some of my family members would say, you being played. And you've got to just realize that that's going to be a natural response, and you got to walk away from that and just let that be. Let them think that way. It's okay. It's okay. When I blocked, what did I say? One of my children, the initial response wasn't good. Oh, well, okay. Well, that's how you're going to be. Oh, and some words and things were said, and I just went on about my way. And now that same child has come back and said, "Ma, I apologize. I'm sorry." You give them some time to breathe and think about it. And you may have some people that'll never come back full circle to you. That's okay. That's okay. So I just want to remind you that you are a child of the Most High King. I love in Revelations, if you read Revelations chapter 19, I love this vision that was seen. But in verse 16, I love that it says, on his robe and on his thigh, he has this name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We are a child of the Most High King of God. We deserve to have healthy boundaries in our lives and to be respected. I just want to share this with you, because I think there's some people out there, there's some people that are part of this podcast that I know I can't be the only one that have allowed these kind of behaviors really on a daily basis. In fact, I know some of you. And you'll lay a boundary down one day. I call that a soft boundary, where you're like, I'm not going to take this anymore. And if you come at me one more time like that, blah, 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 and it's okay for a couple of days, and then you forget you said that and they come at you again. I say, pray to God to give you wisdom and strength and lay a heart boundary down. And a heart boundary is, at least in my opinion, what I call a heart boundary line is, I put this before God. This is a boundary I feel I've developed in my life that can't be crossed over. This is, you can't talk to me this way. And if you do, I'm going to remove myself from the situation. And if I have to, remove myself from conversations with you until you realize that this is how I must be talked to, even when you're upset. So anyway, I love you all. This was a little bit of a lighter message, but it resonates with me in anything I get in me, any wisdom from God, even reminders in my past when I think about some of the things that I've gone through and how, while I've changed some things in my life, anything that God puts in my mind to talk about. Because I sat in my closet and I was praying to God, what do I talk about and bring to your people, Father? And this is one of the things that he put in my heart is, Z, talk about how you're teaching people to treat you. So I pray that this message has blessed you. I love you all. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button. Love you all. Bye-bye.